My 14-year-old daughter was lying in a hospital bed after collapsing on our family vacation, and instead of worrying, my parents and sister, my 14-year-old daughter, Emma, collapsed face first onto the hotel lobby floor while we were checking out of our family vacation. 1 second she was laughing because I couldn't find the car keys. The next, her knees gave out, her head hit the marble floor, and people rushed toward us while someone called an ambulance. I rode with her to the hospital. My wife, Rachel, followed behind. My parents never came. Neither did my younger sister, Nicole. They stayed at the resort because they had already booked a snorkeling excursion. The vacation had been my parents' idea. They wanted one last family trip before selling the lake cabin where we had spent every summer growing up. I paid for our flights, my parents rented the condo, and Nicole contributed almost nothing because mom insisted she was still getting back on her feet. Emma adored her grandparents. She called them every Sunday, baked cookies with my mom every Christmas, and spent hours helping dad organize his garage. So when I called mom from the emergency room, I expected panic. Instead, she asked, "Is she awake yet?" I don't know. There was a pause. Then she sighed. "Nicole already paid for the snorkeling trip. We really can't waste that money." I thought I had heard her wrong. "Mom, Emma is in the hospital." "I know, but what would we do there besides sit in the waiting room?" Rachel quietly reached over, took my phone, and ended the call before I answered. The doctor spent hours running tests. Eventually, they discovered Emma had an undiagnosed heart rhythm disorder. They stabilized her, but she needed several days of monitoring before they would let her leave. Watching your child sleep beneath hospital lights while monitors beep beside her changes everything. Nothing outside that room matters. Apparently, my family felt differently. That afternoon, my parents posted smiling vacation photos online. Nicole swimming with dolphins, dad holding up a fish, mom relaxing beside the pool. Not one message asked how Emma was doing. Late that night, mom finally texted, "Any updates?" I replied, "She's staying at least 3 more days." Her answer came back minutes later. "Don't forget, checkout is tomorrow morning." Rachel read the message, handed my phone back, and looked out the window. Neither of us said a word. Emma came home 3 days later with medication, specialist appointments, and strict activity restrictions. Nobody visited, nobody brought food, nobody even called. Nicole continued posting vacation pictures with captions about making unforgettable family memories. Emma saw every one of them before quietly locking her phone and asking if she could take a nap. 2 months later, dad invited everyone to dinner. The lake cabin had finally sold, leaving enough money for each of us to receive a substantial share. He called it a celebration. Dinner felt normal until dad stood and raised his glass. "Family always comes first." Then he smiled at Nicole. "Your mother and I think Nicole should receive an extra $60,000 so she can finally buy a condo." Mom nodded immediately. "You're doing well financially, David. Nicole needs it more." I looked across the table. Emma had barely spoken all evening. I asked one question. "So we're changing the agreement?" Dad shrugged. "Families help whoever needs it most." Nicole smiled without saying a word. I reached into my jacket and placed a thick folder on the table. Dad frowned. "What's that?" "Everything from Emma's hospital stay. Inside were every medical bill, insurance statement, doctor's report, and discharge summary." Then I placed another stack beside it. Printed screenshots, their snorkeling pictures, poolside selfies. Every timestamp matched the hours Emma had been lying in intensive care. The room became completely silent. "I saved every one of them," I said. Mom immediately shook her head. "That's unfair." I looked at her. "No, leaving your granddaughter alone in a hospital because you didn't want to miss a vacation was unfair." Nicole crossed her arms. "So you're doing this over money?" I shook my head. "No, I'm doing this because you're pretending family matters now." I slid one final document toward Dad. Weeks earlier, I had already signed away my share of the cabin proceeds. Every dollar had been transferred into an educational trust for Emma that nobody else could ever access. Dad stared at the paperwork. "You already signed everything?" "Last week," Mom whispered. "We wanted everyone to decide together." I met her eyes. "You already made your decision the day Emma collapsed." Nobody finished dinner. Emma quietly slipped her hand into mine as Rachel and I stood to leave. Over the following months, my parents kept calling. They wanted birthdays together, holiday dinners, family pictures, fresh starts. I never argued. I never reminded them what happened. I simply stayed busy. Emma slowly recovered. She returned to school, then soccer practice, and eventually laughed without forcing herself. The trust kept growing. The distance did too. The last message my father ever sent me said, "We miss you." I read it once, locked my phone, and never answered. Some families don't fall apart because of one argument. They fall apart because, when it mattered most, they showed exactly who they were.